Hello, and welcome back to Milkweeds and Roses. Okay, well, I've put it off long enough. It is time to get some seeds started. Uh, I like to wait a little bit later, like this, in the late winter slash early spring, and it's just because if you grow seeds and the plants take off, if you start too early, then you're transplanting them once, twice before they're ready to go out in the garden. Here in Zone 5B in Iowa, the weather is notoriously fickle. So we've all been lulled into this false belief, I think, that spring is here. Yay, let's get going. And, you know, then I think it was just last year we had a massive snowstorm in May. So you take the good with the bad, but what it means is, I think I'm better off if I just grow some healthy seedlings, maybe have to transplant them once into pots that can go directly into the garden after they're hardened off, instead of having to keep on replanting them because they outgrow their space. And I don't have a lot of good window growing light space here in this house that's available. I'll just put it that way. That's available. So I have to be selective about the plants that I grow and when I grow them. Most of the seeds I get, I prefer to direct sow outside. And let me tell you a little bit about that. For example, in fact, some of them thrive on that. Carrots, for example. I'm going to try some new Black Nebula carrot seeds this year, and also a Caracas hybrid. Now, I got the hybrid seeds from Burpee, and these are from Victory Seeds. So, those are better off being direct sown into the ground. And honestly, the soil probably won't be warm enough here. If this weather keeps up, maybe that'll be different. But honestly, it'll probably be late April, early May before I sow these directly into the ground. Tomato plants, I will start indoors. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start those. I haven't done that before. I've always bought tomato plants. I haven't bought the seeds and tried to germinate that. So we'll see how that goes. But these are from Burpee, Sweetheart of the Patio Hybrid. So this particular variety is one that grows in a container. It's a little bit smaller type of a plant versus one that some of them get to be. Last year I loved the tomatoes, but that thing was a beast. That vine, that plant was a beast, and it dwarfed my roses. So I want something a little more contained but still productive if I can. Here's a dwarf eagle smiley from Victory Seeds. We'll just kind of see what goes there. I'm going to start these indoors. I might start those today. I might wait a couple of weeks yet. Some of the others that I am going to start outdoors that are really best sown outdoors, zinnias. Zinnias grow great around here. They're just annuals, but they're beautiful and they really take off. They grow so fast and so strong that I would be repotting probably 4 times if I started them now before they're ready to go outside. So I do love zinnias, but that's something to remember. Also, cosmos. I got these from Floret Farms last year. Usually seeds are good for about 2 years, so I'm hoping that will still work. But in my experience anyway, cosmos are best direct sown outdoors once it's warm, and we're talking about May at this point, so it's too early for that. And I've got some different types of varieties from different, 1,000 flowers. That's new to me. But garden apricot lemonade is another one. Also some columbines from the 1,000 flowers. William Guinness, Clementine Salmon Rose, a couple of those I'm going to try. We'll just kind of see how that goes. Another good one that I planted some of these last year, and they ended up being taken down because of some construction. It wasn't anybody's fault, but some golden Alexanders. And again, these are 2-year-old seeds. They're good, a nice native plant for pollinators. They can be about 4 feet tall. They like bright sun. They're known for their ability to reseed, and they're excellent for pollinators. So that's what I'm looking for. As a pollinator habitat, as a pollinator way station here. That's what I'm always looking for. And I haven't tried Crimsonia before. I'm gonna try this and see what it says. It's an heirloom flower, fringed pink, and it's an old type of variety since the 1800s. So they can self-sow once they get started. It is a perennial, zones 3 to 9. It does require full sun, and they don't like to sit in the wet. So we'll see how that goes, which is definitely, as someone who has a lot of dry shade and some spots of bright sun, we'll just kind of see how it goes. But it says to sow 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost. And, you know, I can sow these inside, so I might try that and see how that goes. And I've also got some larkspur. I haven't tried those before. We're gonna see how that goes. And I got some Polish poppy seeds from my brother-in-law in California. Thank you, Michael. I think that's wonderful. So I'm anxious to give this a try. I don't know if you have stratified these seeds. I know that you've harvested them recently. So, and of course, California weather is a little bit different than here. Usually poppies are cold stratified, like they require a period of chill, you know, in order to grow. And hey, we still have chill here in Iowa, so I might direct sow these outside because it's definitely chilly enough still to do that. And I've got a couple of spots with some bright sun that might work. And I've also got some Iceland poppies. These came from Floret Farms. And again, I got that 2 years ago. I didn't have any luck getting those to germinate last year, but you know what? I direct sowed those on the ground in a great spot. It was moist, had, you know, morning sun, a good 6 hours of morning sun, but they weren't cold stratified. You know, I should have done it earlier. So I'm gonna try that again. We'll see. Okay, anyway, but step number 1, the first thing we have to do for our, remember the royal we, that's me in this house, I put that together a couple of weeks ago, and it is from Park Seed. It's from Park Seed, and it's an interesting approach to seed starting. So they have these little spongy bits that you pop in and put the seed directly in there. I don't know if you can see. Can you see the hole? Put the little seed right in there, and it's a spongy type of material. And you just bottom water it and cover it up. And when the seeds start to germinate, then you can take the cover off, add a nice little breeze with the help of a fan that helps the seeds grow a little bit stronger. And you don't fertilize, you don't do any of that stuff for seeds until they're growing. Okay, they just need growing medium until they get going. But step number 1 is I have to soak these. So let's do that first. Here we go. So first thing we're gonna do, let me turn this down just a bit. Move this so you can see. Okay, first thing we're going to do, put about 20 of these, soak them in the water. I'll leave them for about a half an hour. And, oh, you can hear Gabe. It's probably telling me it's time for lunch now. I'm imagining that's what this is all. I'm gonna hear him going. So tell you what, I'll get these soaking. I best go feed the dogs. Otherwise, you and I will both be hearing about it. We're gonna, yes, Gabe, I'm coming. So I'm gonna soak these, and then we'll be back. Okay. Now these have soaked long enough. See how they've plumped up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple of things started. All right. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start tomato plants. There's only like 10 seeds in each of these, and that'll give me some room for air in case they don't all make it. I'm also going to try the Crimsonia and some larkspur. See how that goes. The others I'm going to sow, I think I'd have better luck sowing them outdoors, and it's a little bit early for that. I also have my dahlia tubers, which I've looked at here for the first time, and I might have some mildew. but we're gonna pot up any of those that seem to be viable. Okay, here we go. So, all right, here is what the system looks like. Just, you can see some holes. It's just styrofoam on a drip, put it on a tray, on a waterproof tray. It just sits inside there. So first I'll plug some of these in to some holes. This will be plenty. I don't have a whole lot of room in my garden, but my Ambassador Gardener group does have a plant sale in the spring, and so if I've had some success getting these to go, I can always repot these and bring them along to the plant sale. A few more over here on this side. All right, so let's do the Crimsonia first. These are very fine seeds. Oop, oh, hello. I don't know if you could see just how small those are. Very small seeds. Okay, and I'm not going to be able to see them once I put them here in these little things. And of course my hands were wet, so they're sticking to me. I'll put a couple seeds in each one and then thin them out. Now to label those, Crimsonia. We do Larkspur on this other side. And then my last step will be to add some water to the middle here, to the bottom water. Okay, let's see what these seeds look like, shall we? They're also very fine and dark. Not much bigger than the others. You see that? Very tiny. Okay. So again, I'll put a couple in each cell and then thin them out. I think I'm going to put the date I sowed it to. All right. There we go. Now let's add some water. So by pouring the water in these holes in the middle, it goes straight down. Now let's get this to the light. Okay, so next we're gonna plant some tomatoes. I'm gonna have to let these bio cells, those little sponge-like things, soak a little bit more, and then we'll get our tomatoes started. In the meantime, let's take a look at our dahlia tubers, shall we? Okay, so now I have some seed starting mix. Something that isn't very fertile, but it's free draining, and that's primarily what seeds and tubers need to get started, at least until they show some leaves. Then you could add in some soil fertility to help them grow. So these are pots manufactured out of cow manure. Farm girl in me couldn't resist, so I had to give that a try. So the theory is that, you know, once the plants grow in this and they're well rooted, you can just pot these, once they've been hardened off, of course, pot these directly outdoors. So I'd like to try that for my dahlias, if that works. But what I noticed when I went outside, I just store these in over in the garage, which doesn't freeze, and I just store them in some wood shavings. So what you're looking for here is any signs of mushiness, and that one's no good. This one is still good, it's firm. But if they're mushy, that means they're not viable. They've started to rot. I don't like that one. That one's feeling kind of mushy. I might not have any viable. No, that one's still good. Might not have some good dahlias. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. So, you know, this has grown some mold on it. I don't know if you can see that there. Yeah, that's not good. So that got too wet, and that does just happen sometimes. All right, go through this and see if there's anything too squishy. If it's squishy, it's not going to grow. Got 3 out of that bin that will work. Let's see what we have here. I didn't put too many in here, to be honest. I tend to try new dahlia tubers all the time. Now this, yeah, is too mushy. That's a toss. And that one is too. I don't like it. But this one still feels firm. So this, okay, that one I think will go. That one will be okay. Yeah, if it's mushy. Sometimes even having one be mushy or too wet, it can infect all the rest of them. So it's best just to toss it. I mean, I guarantee if you have a gardener or know a friend who's a gardener, they have dahlias and tubers they want to share with you. So that one feels pretty good. Ooh, yeah, wow, that one's no good. So, yeah, a lot of these, that might work. So that's why you store them separate distance from each other in case something like this happens where one goes bad. If they're touching and stored in a box and not allowed to stay real dry, one bad one can infect the rest. Yeah, that's got mildew on it as well. Yeah. So now it's going to be a grab bag, a surprise to see what actually grows here, because I didn't label these. Yeah, kind of a rookie mistake. But hey, do you know what? We get to look forward to a surprise. Won't that be nice? You just don't know what to expect. Yeah, I think all of these are not good. So I've only got about a handful that I really like. I'm gonna have a friend who's got a bunch of dahlia tubers to get me, so I'm not too worried about it. But that's a bummer. That's a bummer. I only saved about a half a dozen tubers. And this is only the second year I've tried to do this. And it was not largely, well, I guess I'd say 50-50. I've got 3 that are probably okay. These individual one-offs, I think we'll see how they do. If they have an eye, they might work. This one I could see has even got some growth points on it, so he'll be okay. These others are just, yeah, too soft. So in the garbage they go. You know what? It's that's what gardening is, right? It's just, half the time it's just a wing and a prayer and a little bit of it's always a lot of work. But you just, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But you know, it's always a learning opportunity. That's what I look at. Rather than talk about mistakes, think about them as opportunities. Try something different next year. You got nothing, and it's fun to try. It's fun to try new things. It's fun to try to challenge yourself and see if you can grow something different or try a new storage method. You know, you might hit on something that nobody else has tried yet. And wouldn't that be neat? That would be neat. Okay, so I will get the dahlias potted up and under the grow lights. And all in all, not a bad day. I will start the tomatoes next. And then I'll keep you posted to see how these things are growing. So in the meantime, if you have questions or comments or maybe ideas, how did you store your dahlias and how are they looking? Have you checked on them yet? You know, these have to be potted up and have to grow for quite a while. It's going to be nowhere near warm enough to have them outside till like end of May, possibly June, because I've lost dahlias that I've planted in containers or brought containers out too soon. That's what it's like gardening in zone 5B. So, but yeah, tell me how you stored your dahlias this year and what your success rate was, how they're looking. Maybe I'll give that a try next year. In the meantime, thanks for joining me. I hope you do like and subscribe to this channel. That helps me out and we can learn from each other. That's awesome. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Happy gardening.